And Cameroonians are still awaiting the exact date of the celebration of 50 years of reunification to eventually be known. Now, I come back to you, Barrister. You watch the divergent views about the celebration of Cameroon's reunification. You heard Molanjo Litumbe saying there was no such issue like reunification. And then equally saw Honorable Paul Aya Abine saying that there ought to be dialogue between the two Cameroons for the integration and unification to be consummated. And then you equally saw the mayor of Boya, Mbela Mukichas, saying that Boya was the incubator where reunification was midwifed. And you equally saw the CPDM section president saying that there can be no Cameroon without reunification. All those views, Barrister, what do you make of them?
You know, first and foremost, the SCNC is a faction, okay? They do not represent the general view of all Anglophones. Now,
Mr. Vincent Feko, he's saying that the Southern Cameroon's National Council, the SCNC, is not representing the sovereign view of the Southern Cameroon's people. What is your take on that?
That is inconsequential. The fact of the matter is that there was no unification. That if we had something to celebrate at all, it would have been unification. But unfortunately, there was no unification because the prescriptions were never fulfilled. And I have asked to repeat, there was no agreement between Southern Cameroon.
Do you answer the question, Mr. Vincent Feko? Do you think the Southern Cameroon National Council represents the sovereign will of the majority of, how representative are you?
Well, they do, because it is an offshoot of what we had in Boya, the Southern Cameroon's People's Conference, and they brought up this Southern Cameroon's National Council as the executive arm of the Southern Cameroon's People's Conference. So they have been representing the people of Southern Cameroon.
Now he keeps arguing
if they were not,
they represent the people, Barrister.
If they were not representing them, they would not have been acknowledged by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights.
Yes.
And where we have a case, Communication 266/2003, of which the decision has come out. The decision came out in 2009. There were Southern Cameroonians were recognized as a people with a distinct identity.
Now, I want to come to Barrister. He's using the Banjul ruling to say the Southern Cameroonians, the Southern Cameroon National Council represent the will of the people. Don't you think he's making a point there?
No, sir. That, again, those frivolous facts, frivolous allegations. The SCNC and all of these so-called activist groups are factions. Now, it's been over 50 years since this incident occurred. The plebiscite took place. When did the plebiscite take place?
1st October 1961.
1st October 1961.
Yes.
Okay? Since then, when has these factions hold a suffrage to find out the views of the people? If they're talking about democracy, because I'm talking about democracy, you go to the people, you ask the people, do we secede or do we stay with our republic? Very simple. These old disgruntled politicians and administrators are trying to impose their own views.
Now, don't you think they might be making some sense? If the African Commission for Human and People's Rights can accept to receive a file from a group and then comes out with a ruling, don't you think they might be making some meaning? The African Commission for Human and People's Rights is not just any kind of a structure in the African Union, as far as I know.
Okay, sir, you know, again, distortion of the facts. The SCNC filed a complaint with the commission. The commission said they do not have standing to rule on their complaints for any incidents that occurred prior to December 1989. You get that? So they don't have standing in front of the commission with what they were alleging. Okay? Now, what were the requirements? They made a comment. They did not come out with a ruling. They made a comment.
Yes.
In order for them to achieve what they want to achieve, they have to prove two things.
First?
One, marginalization, oppression, and domination. Do we have it? No, we do not.
Do you share the view that we don't have marginalization,
No,
oppression, and domination, Mr. Feko?
Marginalization and domination, these are all the proofs of the occupation. It is as a result of the occupation that we can now see the occupation manifested through, what did you call it again?
Through maybe the appointment of people in government?
Yes,
or
that's right.
Yes.
Where you play second fiddle. It is as a result of that occupation.
Now, Barrister,
he
was saying something before I came in, Barrister, that there is no marginalization, there is no oppression.
No. I did not say there was no marginalization. I was describing, in order for these factions to successfully put a claim, they have to prove those elements, that there was marginalization, there was oppression, and that the people, meaning the Anglophones, are not being represented in the system that we're currently in. You understand? Now, of course, Anglophones, we have an Anglophone issue. Okay, we have an Anglophone issue.
What is that issue?
We represent 20% of the population. Prior to the merging of then West and East, there were institutions, viable institutions. All of those institutions have degenerated since time. Okay? Now, my issue is the government failed to maintain the status quo. What do I mean by status quo? Our schools, our roads, our hospitals.
The airports.
Airports.
The other structures.
Okay? Everything has gone down. Those are the issues.
So if they are brought back, then we could forge ahead.
Certainly. Now, why? We do have an Anglo-Saxon system, legal that has not been changed. So we do, in a way, still have our identity. However, our institutions are no longer viable. Now, what should we be looking at? We should be looking at Article 76B. Okay? When he says there were certain prescriptions. You know,
so we need to respect
if you notice he hasn't outlined those prescriptions. He uses the term prescriptions. What were those prescriptions? Simple.
So the issue is that the prescription should be respected.
There's no prescriptions.
We're going to come back to the discussion on the reunification celebrations built for Boya in the Southwest region, where Tamfu Harrison went and spoke with a CPDM top shot. He's a member of the subcommittee for communication. He is Barrister John Kameni, and Tamfu Harrison first asked the man of law to comment on some of the issues raised by President Biya during his State of the Nation address. Here is Barrister John Kameni.
State